welcome to the Full Force Facebook Live Fan First Friday reaction event. I'm Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force, and once again, we have Paddy Lennon. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thanks, Chris.
Aka Zartan's Mask. And we've also got Justin Bell. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Chris. How are you?
Very, very good. Very excited after today. And yeah, okay.
You're doing better now than you were 5 minutes ago when I asked you. When I asked you 5 minutes ago, you're like,
I know, and now I'm kind of like, well, no, everything's fine now. So we've got some cool stuff to kind of go through. We'll start with the retro stuff first, I think, because it's not. Well, it's not like the stuff that we're really jazzed about, to be perfectly frank about it. But it's still pretty cool, and we, would like to check it out. So let's.
So retro Cobra Commander.
Let's start with that. What do we think, guys? Starting with Paddy.
Why did you not just release the Retaliation Ultimate Cobra Commander again instead of this gerrymandered yoke?
It seems weird, doesn't it, that we're getting like these three characters which. So let's look back. The last retro wave we had a new head sculpt on Roadblock. We had loads of new stuff for Scarlet, like a new build and everything. And we had a redecoed Destro. Some like really good stuff in there. This wave, it just doesn't really hit as strong, does it? I mean, Cobra Commander is literally just we're just seeing a re-release of the character we've seen multiple times. It doesn't really give us... Well, it doesn't really give me that much kind of excitement. Justin, what your thoughts?
And not even the best build they could have done for a re-release either.
True. I mean, Justin, what are your thoughts on this, mate?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's Cobra Commander he kind of just is. He's obviously somewhat resembles the Sumbo version, but yeah, like Paddy said, the ultimate version we got with the Gijoe Retaliation line, which was back in 2012, it was like 8 years ago, is better, I think, than the build on this one. And I'm trying to kind of figure out, this figure's a little bit different. I don't know if this is the same build we got with like the SDCC, like Missile Command Center or something. There's something funky about the build, that just the torso mismatch is really more obvious here than it was in that Retaliation version. This figure just doesn't, the kind of waist is not as well defined. I don't know. It's just it's an okay figure. It looks like Cobra Commander, but yeah, it also is inferior to a figure we got 8 years ago. So it's kind of hard to be excited about it. I
mean, it is what it is in this case, and we'll shift on, I guess, to look at Duke. Now, this is a really weird one for me because this figure will not die, will it? It just won't go. It won't go away. No. Like, I think when it first came out, it was like, the fun kind of aspect of him screaming, like the Yo-Joe and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of fun about that in that first release, but there were a lot of issues with it. Yeah. Like the kind of the build in general, the kind of the swivel wrists, the kind of, I don't know, and what is really odd about this one for me is that this is the jetpack version. They don't include the jetpack, but they keep the cross straps. Very odd decision for me.
Yeah, the cross straps, which are not at all accurate to his card art, like he doesn't have his classic bandolier. The fact, that this particular Duke, like I said, it was kind of a novelty when he was first released. He was in that Mass Device multi-pack, and it was like he was recreating that scene from G.I. Joe the movie with the jetpack, and it was like, oh yeah, that's a cool kind of novelty version of Duke, while we've got these 40 other versions. But to kind of represent a retro version of Duke with these parts that are all from, mostly from the 20th anniversary line, the 25th anniversary line, back in 2008, and just the figure, the sculpting is soft. He's got that big, huge holster on his right leg. The straps aren't at all accurate to his card art, the screaming face, the arms. When you know what sort of parts library they have available, and the fact that we still to this day don't have like a vintage Duke in modern parts like the Flint we got in the 50th anniversary. We don't have a Duke in that same sort of updated style, and just that they kind of just push this figure back out there is just it really is not, it's not really acceptable. I don't really know, I'm not one of those fans that gets all hateful and angry at Hasbro, but the decisions for this one just really boggle my mind. Look at, they can't even get the pistol to fit in his holster for the press picture, for crying out loud. This figure should not be on store shelves in 2020 or 2021. It just shouldn't. It's almost an embarrassment.
Paddy, thoughts? Are you going to pull this face for the rest of the show?
Yeah, I'm actually pleased to announce that I'm going to have an Indiegogo campaign starting tomorrow to finance a trip to China where I can go and destroy this mold so that it never happens again. So if anybody listening to the podcast wants to donate, make sure to see that, where I'll need a couple of grand to buy flight tickets and a blowtorch, and help finding the factory, and I'll just go melt the mold down so we never see this piece of a figure again.
Okay, so yeah, not a massive fan of the Duke, and yeah, it seems weird that one's come out. We also get Lady J. Now, this Lady J is another one where, especially with what we've just seen today with Classified, like I kind of feel like this Lady J figure's already a little bit old-fashioned in a few areas, like the head sculpt. I'm not like a massive fan of it, and the legs are massive, and it just seems very weird to not try and do a rebuild of some of the, again with the parts library at hand. It seems odd not to really, at least pick one of the characters and try and redevelop them a little bit for the wave, where we've seen that in the first two waves already, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, wave one had, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, and they were the best versions of those figures that have been released to date, reissued, which I thought was pretty great.
Yeah.
With some new paint apps and so on. And then wave two, we got that new head on Roadblock, which I thought improved that figure quite a lot.
Yeah.
And, we got that 50th Destro, which a lot of people had struggled to find, so it was nice to get him again. And then it almost seems like this third wave is a little bit of a step backwards in terms of the quality.
Yeah, totally. Just kind of cycling through some of the more of the images of Lady J there. One thing you did mention before when we were like watching the stream together, Paddy, you mentioned that you like what they did with the rifle and painting the magazine.
Yes,
and everything.
So the paint apps on the Scar rifle, I think is it called a Scar, that
Could
rifle?
Be, yeah.
That looks great. And if Hasbro want to sell me a box of like 6 of those so I can outfit their figures with them, great.
Yes.
The figure is, well, it's a fine version of Lady J, but it's also, we got almost this exact figure in the 50th anniversary, several years ago. It's another case where they didn't really change it enough to make it worthy of a secondary release. It just doesn't really hit the marks. It's not as bad as Duke for sure, and she at least somewhat resembles the card art on the package. But it's really tough for those of us who have kind of been collecting 4-inch Joes all along the way. It's difficult to rationalize buying a figure in 2020 that, was originally released 6 or 7 years ago, and uses parts that came even before that in some cases, in lots of cases. So there just really isn't a whole lot to get excited about with this particular figure.
Saying that, obviously, that we should probably just completely quit this one and move on to the next lot of reveals, which were actually really cool. Snowboards and ski equipment. Where did that come from? I'm looking at you, neat. Justin.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. I mean, yeah, I live up in New England, but I didn't make these. But yeah, it's kind of a cool.
You didn't?
It's a cool kind of collector's item. I like that they're kind of going for that retro, vintage sort of style. I could see that appealing to lots of skiers and snowboarders that are our ages. So I think that's a neat element to do.
Yeah,
like
you were never going to get me slide down a fucking mountain. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that for free.
Your new, it would be avalanche. Would be.
However, if I ever do need to shred it, which I believe is the parlance, I certainly would consider a Snake Eyes snowboard.
Don't worry. I think, as one of those people that when I see G.I. Joe merch, I'm like, I kind of need that. I'm not going to go for these because you can just imagine how expensive that collection is going to turn out to be. In any case, let's look at another little item that they kind of showed us. And that was the kind of first reveal, I guess, of Super 7's Bat, which is pretty cool looking. It's got very kind of animated vibes kind of going on, very kind of exaggerated curvature and stuff like that. But again, like quite a cute little addition to the merch section of G.I. Joe. What are your thoughts on this one, Paddy?
It's grand.
Perfect.
I never need to own one. It's grand.
And Justin?
I think I like it. I think it's got some neat sort of collector appeal with the kind of exaggerated proportions. I like that. In some of the pictures, you can see that the hands are removable, so they can be swapped out for the other weapons. I think they mentioned that the clear plastic on his chest can come off, and you can kind of get access to the gears and stuff underneath. Like Patty, I don't know if I ever feel the need to actually own it, but it certainly is kind of a neat sort of, somewhere between an action figure and a statue, which you could probably put in a collector's room that would look a little bit maybe more hoity-toity than just rows of action figures, I guess. I don't know.
I'm going to call it a statue figure.
It certainly is a purchasable piece of G.I. Joe merchandise.
Totally. So next up, we had the vinyl kind of full-on release, I guess, even though it's been on Amazon now for months, and I did order two, actually. They've just been told that they're doing a release in a number of different stores, like Amazon and Urban Outfitters and somewhere else, I think. And then the new, there's another version that's coming out only in Barnes & Noble, which is red vinyl, and that sounds really cool. So I might have to get both. But what do you guys? I mean, are you guys happy that they're finally doing this on vinyl?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I don't have a vinyl record player myself, but again, for one of those sort of collector item sort of things, I think it's really neat. And folks who do have record players or just want to collect some of this stuff, I think it's a cool opportunity to do that. And I don't think they've really made this music very widely available in the past. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but this is kind of a neat way to get some of that music into collector hands. And I really dig it. I think it's a cool idea.
There was like a bootleg going around early on in the fandom years. But this is the first time we've kind of had it in some sort of really cool release. Obviously, there were certain bits of music that are on the Transformers soundtrack that came out a couple of years ago, and but obviously this is going to be like the G.I. Joe themes and strictly stuff that was in the G.I. Joe cartoon as well. So really excited, cannot wait for that. And like I said, I mentioned Amazon, Urban Outfitters, Target, and more. Target seems like a swear word nowadays.
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't mention the war, Chris.
No more Target.
Don't mention the war for Cobra Island. Exclusive version, as it shows there, is only at Barnes & Noble. And I believe you can pre-order that now. So, or order it now. So go check that out. Now, we were introduced to Paul and Hallie from the marketing team, and I guess Paul is a franchise. Paul's an actual franchise. That's amazing. So those guys discussed the kind of merchandise aspect, and then Lenny and Mark it was handed over to Lenny and Mark to talk about the reveals. First up, then we went straight in to the classified stuff and Flint, and wow, I mean, we get the artwork to start with, like the kind of the in-house Instagram artwork, I'm calling it, of Flint. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty dope. And then they showed the figure, and I was just like, game over, man. Like, absolutely superb. I mean, I'll come to you first, Justin. Take us through your initial thoughts of this when you saw this figure, and then Paddy and I can talk about the Action Force connection.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, Flint has been a long time, popular character of mine, one that I've really, really enjoyed. A figure or a character that he's in a kind of weird place where he's not always kind of front and center in G.I. Joe lore, even though he was one of the, central components to the Sunbow series. He often is overlooked elsewhere. But what they did with the figure is fantastic. It's almost the perfect marriage of sort of vintage accuracy, but enough modernization to really make him, new and different. He's got the removable beret, which is awesome. He's got, instead of just the straight, shotgun straps, he's actually got an armored vest with the shotgun straps on top. Very reminiscent sort of the G.I. Joe Resolute version of Flint, which is great. Resolute was a really fantastic way to kind of portray the character. He comes with a shotgun that actually looks fairly realistic for all the people that were complaining about sort of the science fiction oriented weapons. The shotgun looks
and
pretty real.
That whole cracking it in half and
breaks down, so you can so awesome. And the sidearm he comes with looks like it could be the same one that Beachhead and Duke came with. So there's some kind of uniformity there with various different G.I. Joe team members. The paint apps on the camouflage pants. It looks like the figure itself probably shares quite a bit of tooling with. Looks like those could be Beachhead shin guards, but maybe Duke's arms. So. It's obviously some shared tooling there, but they use it really, really well. He's got that, kind of sleeve on his back where the shotgun gets stored.
Let's look at
that. For his pistol.
We got some. Look at that head sculpt as well. Let's talk about that head sculpt. How good is that haircut? Love it.
Yeah, they did, and I think that serves two purposes. It also helps kind of keep his beret on his head, and but they don't. It doesn't look too obvious. I mean, the haircut looks like it should belong that way, and then it has the added benefit of holding the beret down. So I think they just did a really, really great job. And I know, Mark and Lenny were kind of going up and down about how ruggedly handsome Flint is, and I think they really captured his style, from the '85 figure and from the Sundoe version. I
think they both have a crush on him. I think I have a crush on him. That is one hell of a head sculpt. There's got some real like John Hamm vibes going on in this face sculpt, and I've mentioned him before as I think it would be a really good Flint in like some sort of kind of like a TV series or something. Paddy, let's get some input from you, mate. Now, obviously, Flint was a massive character in Action Force. He was the head of the team in Europe. How happy are you to see him in this classified line?
This really is, I think, the winner of the live stream for me. I think this is pretty much a perfect representation of that character. Obviously updated for the modern era. I really like the design choices they have. That shotgun holster looks fantastic. The vest looks great.
There it is. Look at that.
The nice paint apps on the weapons. Like the shotgun looks like a real shotgun. The fact that it cracks in half so he can reload it and so on. I think this is a really, really nicely designed figure.
Totally.
Yeah, so I'll repeat everything Justin said as well. This is top tier, action figure making.
Another nice picture there of Mark as well, next to next to Flynn. What I really like about this, there you go, Mark. You've got a ruggedly handsome face as well. So like, what I really like about the shotgun shells is that I was in like before this came on. Obviously, any of our patrons knew about what was coming. We did kind of do a little Patreon kind of spoiler for people. Did not, just as in like the information that was coming. And I was in my head, I was trying to work out what Flint's like shotgun shells were going to look like. And I was trying to think, how are they going to do that? Are they going to do like a separate secondary, but then just the t-shirt or the shirt underneath? I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. And then seeing what they've done, like kind of almost incorporating it into the rest of that kind of flak vest, I love it. I think it just looks so good. It helps with that kind of upgrade into the kind of modern classified style. And I just think it is just smashed it out of the park with Flint. Absolute beauty. And also, some of the Dio shots we got as well were just gorgeous, weren't they? Like in that, the kind of the jungle of Cobra Island. What was funny was they were talking about, and there's that shot of Flint cracking his shotgun, which is pretty wicked. They were talking about this is the shot of Zartan capturing Flint, and it's like, how many more Joes are going to be captured in this classified storyline? It's which I thought was hilarious. There's not much more to say about Flint. He is just really good. Oh, the artwork. So that was
Scott.
Could you refresh my memory?
Rich Kelly.
Rich Kelly.
Yeah.
Rich Kelly with the artwork, and that looks really good on the box, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's gorgeous.
Seems to be like a bit of a nighttime kind of vibe with this. Is that the moon behind him, possibly, or like a spotlight or something? Either way, when we get when we get a nice shot of the actual artwork, I imagine Rich will post it up on his Instagram pages and stuff when he's given the go ahead. But it looks great, and the side panel where he's got the kind of the pistol kind of and the look. Oh, it just looks fantastic.
Oh yeah,
big fan of Flint. Big fan of Flint on this one.
I'm really hoping they do some kind of art book for these things at some point.
That's actually a really good point, and I think it would be something that you kind of expect them to do, especially like IDW taking over and doing art pieces for Hasbro in the past.
They did that packaging art portfolio there, was it the year before last, I think, with some of the original retouched
Hascon,
but then IDW released it as well via Diamond. So I'd like to see something like that, maybe a Hasbro Con exclusive portfolio, which then gets released to mass retail. That'd be great.
That
Definitely
would be great, because this art does need to be collated. It really does. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely
so speaking of which, we've got the Lady J internal Hasbro Instagram art on the show here, which is really cool. When I first saw this, I was like, wow. She's got the hat as well, which I thought, that's really neat. And there's other aspects that I didn't notice at first, but we'll see as we go through these images. Now, when they revealed this figure, I was like, Yeah, they've nailed this as well. Like they've absolutely, again, home run. Paddy, what are your thoughts about this Irish flower?
Well, I'm very glad that finally Trinity College's most famous graduate gets a decent 6-inch figure.
Trinity College and Lincoln University with Flynn.
But actually, I
think he went to Cambridge. Actually, Flynn, didn't he?
Actually, Lady J's a Trinity grad on the American file card as well.
Brilliant!
The Action Force file card. She's a Trinity grad, but also from Cork. So she talked like this,
Lovely
like
stuff.
if she was from Cork. So it's so, you know, she is officially Irish in both continuities, so, which is great. So it's I've always been a big fan of Lady J. In fact, I remember, if you remember, I harassed Paul Allor to wonder when that she was going to turn up in the G.I. Joe comic series, which she finally has. So this is actually like a really nice modern update to her. I love the accessories she's coming with, the updated javelin launcher, the camera backpack, and the fact that she has changeable heads on her spears, and everything stores in the backpack. And then of course, obviously, you have the changeable hair. You know, you swap it for the Sunbow accurate hatless head, or to give her action figure accurate hat, which I think is really really nice design work on her.
Totally. What about you, Justin? What you liking about this figure?
Oh, just about everything. I mean, she's a really, really great, almost perfect update to the 85, character. I mean, the way that they did the kind of removable hat and hair combo was just, it really impressed me. It blew me away. Because when I first saw her, first saw the artwork with the hat, I'm like, okay, so they decided to go with the hat, not the hatless look, which I was okay with. But I was like, so I wonder when we're going to get her hatless. And then they showed the figure, and it was hatless. And I was like, I couldn't figure out the kind of the engineering, how they made that work. So the fact that the actual hat and hair are removable and replaceable with hair that's such a great touch. I love how they've made kind of the javelin launcher and javelin as sort of separate pieces. So you can have that javelin launcher like the old figure came with, or she can take the javelins out and throw them. The fact that the tips come off and Brilliant. She can swap the tips out and then store the tips in her backpack. The camera that kind of flips up. Yeah, just the tip. Yeah, I'm gonna store the tip. Nothing more. And then that kind of camera on her backpack that kind of looks up over her shoulder, which they said was sort of a callback to the bulky old camcorder, Super 8 camera, whatever it was that she came with back in the day. Just the fact that they think about all that stuff.
That one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that they think about all that stuff is really cool, because if I was going to, conceptualize an update for Lady J, I wouldn't have thought about the camera aspect. And like, it's just kind of a throwaway thing. But they thought about it and they worked it into the new figure. She's got some great gear, the combat knife, and I can't say enough good things about this figure. She is fantastic. Another marriage of vintage and modern look, and just the fact that we've now got, 2 high-profile G.I. Joe female characters is just really, really awesome. And I'm really excited to get this figure in hand. I think she's going to look fantastic on the display shelf.
Totally agree. Absolutely brilliant. And again, like the Dio shots they have of her are brilliant. And then there's even, and obviously like Lenny took us through, some of the kind of the details of the actual figure, the close up of the head sculpt. Again, the head sculpt I think is really, really awesome. Like again, it's like it's not like it doesn't like copy, say, the cartoon look. It doesn't copy a look of her in the comics or anything. There's something very unique about her, much like the Baroness's head sculpt. How, someone who's been like the figures have been churned out over and over again. You just expect them to do something that very generic, and you get something with like a lot of personality in it. The hair is slightly different, and I think it's a really, really awesome head sculpt. And also, Lenny
actually mentioned on the live stream that they looked at a lot of different artists' takes on her, and amalgamated them all into kind of making like a collective Lady J, like from our collective consciousness.
Just mushed them all together.
To make like the abstract. This is what Lady J looks like with her hair and face.
We'll take this one. This one's eye. We'll take that one's eyes,
and this one's nose, and this one's chin, and we'll just photo fit.
Mrs. Potato J is what she is.
Just make a photo fit of what Lady J looks like if she ever mugged you in an alley, and you need to describe her to the police.
I also like the popped collar. I think that's a really cool little, addition to the vibe. And also the other thing I was going to mention was obviously we saw Lady J in Operation Blackout, but I don't think it is a direct, like exact looking copy of what we saw in Operation Blackout. Because there's elements that I think are like really like different in that figure from what we've seen, and the packaging art, which was Scott Fisher. Again, more beautiful packaging art. Again, two great additions, aren't they, to the classified line?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Oh man, both these figures they were such a key part of the mythology in the mid '80s, and the fact that they've really given them some awesome life in this new 6-inch scale. I continue to be so impressed by what they're doing with the G.I. Joe classified line, and I said some kind of squirrely things about the retro line, and I hold true to that. But the fact of what they're doing with a 6-inch line is just so impressive. The fact that they're just not being slaves to the vintage look. They're just not leaning back on what we're all familiar with. They're actually doing some really cool, new and interesting things. And I've said it before, but I don't think I've been this excited about G.I. Joe since Sigma 6. I mean, this is really, really right up my alley. I'm loving this stuff.
Wow, that's a big claim there, Justin. No.
I'm gonna start calling classified Sigma 7 for Justin.
Oh, there you go.
So Sigma 6.5. Again, beautiful diorama shots we've got here, and what the one that again was quite funny for me was the fact that Jay turns up, takes over, saves Flint, just like she does in every single, issue, cartoon episode. But from this shot,
the Irish ride to the rescue again.
Exactly, the Irish are in, but there's a Cobra Trooper in the background ready to kind of take back the initiative. So it's all. I do love the story building they're doing as well. She can
see him in her camera.
Oh yeah, she's got him in. Yeah, and she's probably going to the weapon she has is perfect for the situation. Nobody realizes that. She doesn't even realize that, but the weapon has got like AI, like in the cartoon. Anyway, brilliant, amazing reveals from Hasbro today. We also got a bit of trivia at the end, and we failed miserably, didn't we, guys? Well, Justin did.
God,
and we kicked him out
I am
of the
so embarrassed. Man, 10 years ago it would have been all over that, but I completely and utterly failed miserably.
I've read the Marvel run recently as well. Like, I've had to read it from the start onwards, and I still was like, it could have been either. I couldn't tell you. So, but Lady J was first.
I got Flint's right at least. I just screwed the pooch on Lady J. That's all.
And obviously, I couldn't answer that question anyway because it's completely different in the Action Force comic over here.
Very true. That's our excuse.
Yeah.
I don't have an excuse. No excuse for me.
We're going to kind of answer some questions that have been coming through. Someone has asked us, I did see it earlier on, about who do we think is going to be revealed next in the line. Apologies for not knowing who it was, but it's going to take me ages to find it. So, Paddy, who do you have a strong feeling we might see next in the classified series?
I mean, we've seen listings for Barbecue and Blood, so I mean, that's a fair guess.
Barbecue and Blood sounds like the worst buddy movie ever, doesn't it?
I was going to say Major Blood. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Major Blood, we've seen his name leaked a few times. I think it's possible we'll see some of him. I'm just kind of dying to see when we're going to see some movie figures, but obviously with it not coming until next October, I suspect it'll be a while before we see any of those.
Yeah. So we did get listings, yes, for Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow movie figures for Lady J version 2 as well. There's a version 2 Lady J that will be coming eventually next year, which again leaked not too long ago, and so that'll be interesting. What do you think there? Do you think we'll get some sort of like Arctic Mission gear J? Do you think we'll get like a repaint, like a Night Force kind of job? I mean, what do you think we're going to get there?
I'm thinking it's probably going to be a pretty straight repaint, just based on the fact that, I mean, for these second versions, they've had to do, reuse tooling. And I guess I can't think of any of Scarlett's parts that would really work for Lady J or Baroness for that matter. So yeah, I would think it's probably just going to be maybe some kind of Lady J repaint. Maybe they'll add some new secondaries or something like that to kind of spice it up a little bit. But it'll be weird because, I couldn't see them really doing an Arctic version because she's got her short-sleeved arms. And Scarlett's kind of weird, shoulder pad and stuff. I don't know how well that would work for an Arctic version. So
that's true.
Yeah, Good question.
C.S. Sherman has asked us, what are your thoughts on releasing a green shirt figure from the animated series? They were the generic Joe members that were used to fill out the ranks. Thank you for that. Paddy, would you like to see a green shirt in Classified?
That's actually wouldn't be a bad idea at all, actually, because there's plenty of Cobra Troopers knocking around now that Cobra Troopers made it to mass retail and not Cobra Island anymore. So I was actually thinking about it. A G.I. Joe green shirt seems like a natural place to go at some point.
Yeah, normally I'm not really on board with that idea. I kind of see G.I. Joe sort of an elite fighting force that doesn't have a bunch of nameless and faceless soldiers, but kind of the
Steel
way
Brigade,
that G.I. Joe Classified.
Joe Trooper.
yeah. But the way G.I. Joe is, the G.I. Joe Classified line has been handling all of its stuff. I mean, I wouldn't say no to anything. I think they could do some really amazing, green shirts if they decided to introduce those.
You want Windmill and who else do you want?
When are we going to get Fun School Classified homages is what we really want to know.
I think that's what everyone really wants to know. That's what's on
everyone. Let's get Windmill in there, but in his wacky ass colors first.
Can you imagine like a 6-inch scale kind of helicopter backpack sort of thing?
Just basically put a weather vane on its back, with the club did.
Amazing. That would be amazing. Brian Greenwood says, do you guys think the retro line vehicles are finished? There was no new vehicle reveal today. Well, there wasn't a vehicle reveal today, but I know for a fact that they are still doing retro vehicles. So don't worry, there will be more retro vehicles coming. You're welcome. Christopher Kelly says, were you surprised not to see retro vehicles? I kind of not really, because they just revealed a Fang. The Fang came out, I want to say, after we got the reveal of the retro wave. Didn't they throw the Fang out afterwards? I can't remember now.
At PulseCon, they revealed them all as, the Wave 3 figures, and then they also revealed the Fang as well.
Also, we got two vehicles in the first wave, in a sense, didn't we? Although I think one of those vehicles was probably going to be in for the wave 2. I think COVID's thrown a lot of stuff out of whack. So I think that's why we're getting these kind of chopped up kind of releases in terms of the retro wave. But no, there will be more retro vehicles, no doubt. Tim Mysak says, I'd love a Major Blood figure. Well, we'll get in one. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like.
Based on Operation Blackout, he looks pretty awesome. So.
Very good point as well. Again, like you can more or less judge what you're going to be seeing by watching Operation Blackout. I love the Flint Classified figure, says Bradley, but doesn't he seem light on accessories? Shouldn't he have come with a backpack? Thoughts?
He's got that sleeve for the shotgun. I don't really see the backpack as being a glaring omission. I mean, the one he came with was pretty generic, military style backpack. There's nothing really interesting about it. I think if he had a really eye-catching backpack with some neat functionality, then maybe. But the one that he came with, I don't really see it as a big loss.
They've given him exactly what he needs, which was somewhere to store the shotgun and somewhere to store the pistol. I don't see that the backpack is really necessary.
I think you've nailed it on the head there, Paddy. Giving him exactly what he needs. And I think when you look at him all geared up, I think he does look like he's got what he needs on him to do his missions. And he does look like Flint. The backpack, the other thing about the backpack on the vintage figures, I'm not even sure if you can see it from the front. Like, it's one of those ones that's quite small.
And it's not visible on his card art or anything.
Yeah. So, again, I'm going to say, though, Bradley, I would love to see a backpack for Flint. But at the same time, and like Justin said, add some functionality to it, something cool, some different extra features.
Maybe if he had, kind of like maybe Falcon's backpack, a backpack with like a radio antenna, and maybe the sleeve for the shotgun on the side or something. That could be pretty cool. But maybe they'll do that for Falcon whenever we get around to him.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That is a good shout. Sean J. Berg, aka Word Burglars, joining us. He says, "I want 1987 movie figures." So do we. So does everybody. I think. Well, actually, not everybody, but we do. I want to see some
all the smart people
Nemesis
do.
Enforcer, some Globulus, some Pythona. Oh my God. Classified Cobra La would, I think, give me a heart attack.
That would be amazing.
In a good way.
We actually mentioned this before we went live, Chris, where I suggested that they should do a classified Cobra La Guard just to bankrupt Adam Riches.
That's so true. He'd have to buy like 190 of them or 200 of them just to match what he has in the vintage. What did you guys think about Lady J having double jointed elbows, says Walter?
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Considering neither Baroness nor Scarlet have them, I think that's a very good touch.
It makes sense for the figure. It makes sense for the figure just because if you want to pose her throwing the javelins or whatever. manually throwing the javelins, that those double jointed elbows will really help do that. So I imagine that was probably a designer's choice to allow you to pose her with using her weapons properly and so on if you wanted to. Because they did mention they designed her with the idea that you could have the javelin launcher or just have her throwing them freehand.
I also think there's an aspect there of improvements going on as the line grows. So it's like, what can we actually do with this to make it better in terms of articulation? And Lenny even mentioned that in the interview, name drop, Clang, we did a few weeks back, where he discussed that kind of like improvements as the line grows kind of thing. So if you want to check that out, that's on the YouTube channel, Facebook, you know where it is. If you're watching this, you know exactly where it is.
And I don't know if it, I haven't really kind of examined the architecture sort of the existing figures, but it certainly seemed from the pictures of Lady J that she didn't have pins in her arms. And I don't know if some of these other classified figures do. I know there's a big hoo-ha in Marvel Legends right now. They're kind of moving to pinless construction for some of these 6-inch figures. So maybe that allows them to make that range of motion in her elbows where it wouldn't necessarily work for the previous figures. I don't know, but whatever the case, it's great.
Yeah, and the more the merrier for me. Like the more articulation, the better for me as well.
Absolutely.
Christopher Kelly says, another question from Chris. Shout out to Chris as well. Do you think we will ever get a retro figure in modern form that hasn't been previously released? I'm looking at you, Lightfoot. That's why I read it out, obviously. But yeah, that is a good question.
You got the Fang Pilot.
I think we're probably gonna go. Yeah, that's true. We did, but we're probably gonna go in terms of like a character that we haven't seen in the modern, in the classic sense. I think we're gonna have to go quite a few waves in before we start seeing new stuff, because it looks as though they're trying to reuse as much as they have already for this particular line, doesn't it? Yeah. Everyone agrees with me. Yeah. Everyone agrees with me because I pay their wages. No, they don't get paid.
0 cents.
Wages.
Yeah.
Patty's getting wages? What's up with this?
Oh no, neither. I was hoping each of you would think the opposite of each other there, but
wait,
no,
Justin's getting wages?
What else have we got? Think with Flint they have offset the loss of the backpack with more detailed paint apps, and I agree with that, Stephen. A big smiley face from Sean, aka Werburglar. Thanks, Bergs. What else do we think? Okay, do you think they will introduce multi-packs, Crimson Twins being the obvious, but maybe like the Marvel Legends 3-packs are great for close groups? From Stephen, that is an interesting one, and I think if the Crimson Twins were ever to be done, it would probably be an exclusive, like an SDCC exclusive or something, and you'd get like a twin pack. Would you guys be in for that, Paddy?
I think a con is probably the natural place where you'll see those first, because it's another price point that they need to stock somewhere, and Walmart or somewhere might not take a 2-pack where they might they'll take a single figure for shelf space and so on. So I think that would be a natural like SDCC exclusive. I think.
Yeah,
2-pack
yeah,
like
totally.
That. Yeah.
Justin, would you like to see a vehicle thrown in as well?
A vehicle? Yeah. I mean, depending on how big you're talking about. I mean. I'm looking up on my classified display shelf now, which I think 6 months ago had like 3 figures on it, and now I'm running out of room. So I'm just trying to think of what I'm going to do with a classified vehicle. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some. I'd love to see a jetpack or some maybe smaller stuff like that. I think would be pretty interesting. I love the multi-pack idea. I think that the twins especially could be a good way to do it, just because they can share so much tooling with each other. But yeah, I think any of that stuff is on the table. If the stuff keeps selling as briskly as it appears to be selling, I think any of that stuff is a possibility. I mean, if you look at Marvel Legends and kind of get that as a gauge, I mean, Marvel Legends is kind of in a different stratosphere from Gijoe Classified right now, I think. And, they sprinkle in the vehicles, but they're certainly not plentiful. I mean, they're, mostly motorcycles and things like that, and they're expensive. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't turn it down, but I'm not necessarily jumping up and down to get any vehicles.
Yeah, cool. Fred Axon, who has obviously done a lot of sculpting for the line so far, has chimed in to say pinless double-jointed elbows on a female is a first. So thanks for that, Fred. Appreciate it. I wonder if Fred had anything to do with that. Probably did. Big shout out to Fred there. Tim says, I could see a Tiger Force Duke, Flint and Roadblock in the future, and I agree with that, and I would love that very, very much. I've even done a mock-up Tiger Force Duke from way back when they were showing the Dio shots, and I posted it, and people were like, "Oh my god, I thought this was real, you tiger!" So I apologise for that. All the people watching, really appreciate you guys kind of checking us out and everything, and also, Mom, I really appreciate the little hearts you've sent us. That's really nice.
Thanks, Sue.
One of those is for me, Chris.
Okay, they're both probably for you guys. Shout out to Mrs. McLeod and Mr. I'm sure David's on there. I'm sure Dave McLeod's watching as well. Classified hiss would be out of control. Awesome. Yes, it would. Word burglar. Cobra
like
ATV claw.
It would cost $350.
HasLab, mate.
It'd be HasLab, yeah.
It'd be HasLab. Yeah, it would be HasLab.
Is there a lesser known character you guys would like to see added to the classified line? Yes, Lightfoot. Everyone else, Justin.
Hit and run, of course.
Knew it was going to be hit and run. The winter one from that special missions issue. All the white. Paddy, what about you, mate?
I don't know if he counts as lesser known, but I'd like to get a Tunnel Rat out there sooner or later.
Nice.
That would be great.
You can do a lot of good stuff with his accessories and so on.
I think Tunnel Rat and Hit and Run are going to be out before Lightfoot is, in all honesty. And it makes me sad, but whatever. Jason says Cobra ATV, Claw, Fang, true. Those would be, those would make sense in the 6-inch size. Johnny Karzai, do you think Hasbro has read my 38 years of fan mail requesting a G.I. Joe snowboard? Clearly, yes. That's what's happened there.
You're the one.
Yeah. Your fault.
Well, go to gilsonsports.com today and pre-order it now.
Chris Clements is shout out to Chris as well, who's also a patron member for us. He says he thinks the retro is coming across a little bit dull because there are not many new parts on them and everything, but he thinks that the molds that they have are really good, and there is a case there. Yes, the figures, they're not bad figures in all honesty, but there's just elements to especially the Duke one is probably the exception there.
Duke is bad, yes.
But I'm got to say, the previous line, I really love Wave 2. Like that Scarlet figure is one of the best they ever did at that scale for me. The
Roblox's pretty good.
Roblox head sculpt's brilliant. Destro is always going to be great. That figure's always going to be a good one to release. So yeah, I'm not a hater of retro. I just think we weren't really that into this particular wave.
This has been the weakest wave of it so far. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Classified Silver Mirage motorcycle would be brilliant. Yes, absolutely.
And they should keep it classic vintage, and it should fall apart when you look at it.
Like literally just
shatters out of the box.
It was like the unofficial feature that the Speeder had for Star Wars, like the little when you press the button and it just exploded into pieces. The Silver Mirage was an unofficial, but it did exactly the same thing. You just didn't have to touch it.
And make it out of gold plastic as well to really up the damage code.
Brian asks, is Baroness and or Beachhead getting a more widely available re-release? I imagine they will. To be honest, Baroness is that one that we do fully expect a single-carded release. And Beachhead, I could see them redoing as a standard release in a different deco, much like they've done with...
They're going to put it's Hasbro and it's G.I. Joe. That tooling is going to be out so often over the next 5 years. You'll be sick of them. You'll be sick of them. You will get multiple versions of all of that tooling.
Chris Clements wants Ripcord. Actually, I would love a Ripcord. Imagine
awesome.
In both retro and classified, in actual fact, like a Ripcord would be brilliant if they did some new stuff to it for the retro, and if they did it for classified, yikes.
Yeah, but it has to have a Damon Wayans head sculpt. It has to be the Damon Wayans Ripcord.
You've just ruined everyone's life there, haven't you? The rise of Cobra. I'm kidding.
But realistically, if they did do a classified Ripcord, you'll probably find it will be an amalgamation of, that.
Berg says Hiss Lab. Good point. That would be that you should be marketing, mate. If you do Tunnel Rat, you have to do a big lob, and you're right, you do. What do you think? Possibility of introducing a brand new character in the classified line, says Stephen Whistler Jr., another patron. Yeah, that is a good shout. Like, are we going to get something completely original in the classified line? That is a good shout, and that probably would be the case further down the line. Do you guys see that happening, Justin?
I could definitely see that happening. I mean, depending on how broadly it reaches, I could see them exploring new characters. I don't know how often they'll do it, but I think they could potentially do that.
I mean, we're obviously going to see some in the movie line. that aren't going to be pre-existing characters.
True.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
We're probably going to see a couple of, movie characters as who are not pre-existing ARAH characters.
Nice one, Paddy Loophole Lennon there with the.
We are expecting like an Akiko and Kenta classified release at some point, right?
100%.
Movie villains,
For
we're
sure.
expecting that. So,
Ladybug. How would you choose a HasLab for G.I. Joe? So many vehicles to choose from. I think the Hiss tank is not a bad shout, honestly, because
I kinda like that one.
not only has Word Burglar come up with a really catchy marketing ploy, but also I think that would fit quite well.
it is probably the single most iconic G.I. Joe vehicle as well. Like it's.
Yep.
You're thinking of the Swamp Masher.
It's true, based on the number of them that are for sale in the second-hand market. But I think that silhouette is almost instantly recognizable, to even a casual Joe fan, and even someone who's not really a Joe fan. That is the one that people will look to. If you show people a silhouette of that, they know exactly what it is. So I think
Absolutely.
as an iconic vehicle, I think that would be the one to go for if you were doing a HasLab.
Totally. And the last
Agreed.
question we'll take for today, and then we'll call it a day. From Tim, he says, any characters not from 82 to 94 you want to see? Now, I've got a feeling where Justin's going to be spending most of his time in this conversation. So he'd like to see Helix or Dawn, and I think that would be mirrored by Paddy over there. Paddy, let us know what you...
Yes, with removable Mickey slicing action.
Could you imagine that coming in the package, literally?
Yeah, it's justified, you'd be decent size.
Amazing. Justin, what about you? What do you want to see? Obviously, Sigma 6, Yawn, Snores.
I'd love to see Lieutenant Stone. Can you imagine a classified scale Lieutenant Stone? That would be badass.
Actually, that would be awesome. That would
Absolutely.
be awesome. Would you have homages to the Sigma 6 styling in there, like kind of like the ports and the stuff like that?
Oh yeah, like the kind of the armor, and it would be really awesome if they could do like a base figure that was similar to the Sigma 6 style, so you could buy a bunch of them and maybe swap parts around and make a whole Sigma 6 team out of them. I think that'd be a really, really awesome idea.
I personally there's so many characters, but I'd love to see like Iron Claw done. I think he would be, because I remember when they did Iron Claw in the what do you call it? Yes, thank you. In the modern 4-inch scale, and I really like that figure. There's aspects to it that are a bit bonkers, but I would imagine that in a classified sense. I do like the kind of crazy stuff, because I think classified has that scope to really go deep into the details with it, and I think something like that would be pretty cool. Very cool. Anyway,
definitely.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for throwing your questions at us. Again, sorry I didn't get to all of them. We've had a lot of interaction, which is brilliant, and that's what we like. So we hope you've enjoyed this Fan First Friday Facebook Live reaction live video. Paddy, Justin, thank you so much. Start with Paddy. Thank you, Paddy, for jumping on. Have you enjoyed it?
It's good. I think the classified reveals really pulled him out of the fire at the end, so that was nice.
Or at the start, as it were.
Had the retro way stuff been all we saw, I think that would have been disappointing. But the two classified figures are excellent figures. So
awesome. And Justin, have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I already kind of gushed about G.I. Joe Classified a little bit, but yeah, they continue to really ramp things up with every single release, and very, very excited to see Flint and Lady J in hand, and to kind of see what else is on the table. The only thing that's driving me a little crazy is we get these, I like that Hasbro is doing this fan engagement and getting people all ramped up, but we get these previews like 6 months before the figure is released, and then it's like, got to kind of wait for the inevitable.
That's the one thing that actually. That's one thing that's kind of annoying me, is like they're looking for more pre-orders when we literally just pre-ordered the last wave 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
Get us some figures in hand before you do more pre-orders, guys.
I think I got my Red Ninja pre-orders from Wave 2 like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the thing. I got my the same thing. They turned up like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, wow, I forgot these existed. I didn't. I've been wanting them every single day since they were released. But I've noticed as well, like what they seem to be doing is that they've staggered it so much that they're dropping these pre-orders, and then you'll get like a figure come through. So it's not like the worst thing in the world, but I know what you guys are saying. And I really do. I mean, isn't that a testament to how good these toys are, though? Like, just you want it so bad, you want it now.
But I mean, people are still struggling to find some of the Wave 1 figures, and like now we're pre-ordering Wave 4. I think that's a bit much. Yeah,
true. There is that aspect to it. Distribution is a shame. Like, I kind of, again, there are a lot of factors go into that as well. But I do hope that when we kind of get to some sort of normalcy, that and the line's been going for a while, that the distribution aspect can kind of improve a little bit. But in any case, guys, thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone watching. Mom, thanks for the 3 hearts. You've thrown another 3 hearts on, so I'm guessing that's 1 for me, 1 for Paddy, and 1 for Justin, and maybe a secret extra 1 for the other 2. I get it. Really appreciate you guys checking us out and watching us. We will be this will be edited and put on YouTube if you missed it, and it will look fancier with some cool graphics from Brian Sauer at Codename Iowa. Thank you, Brian. We are rebranding a touch, and he will be helping. So guys, thanks again to all our patrons who've also been joining and interacting as well. Thank you. We really appreciate your support. We appreciate everyone's support, and thank you so much. See you guys later. And obviously what we always have to do at the end of these things before I end it is we have to shout the battle cry, guys. After 3, 1, 2, 3.
Full force!
Absolutely terrible. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.